21st, 6:01 p.m. Roll call, directors, please.
Barnes.
Here.
Bauman. Here. Lewis.
Here.
Gorman.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
Hermany.
Here.
Kaiser.
Here.
Maple. Zebro.
Yes,
All present.
thank you. Item 3, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item 4, approval of the agenda. I will need a motion to approve the agenda as posted. Okay, motion by Matt, second by Mark. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, approval of the minutes. We have items A, B, and C. If you'd like to put them on the same time or one at a time.
I will approve the minutes for April 16th, April 22nd, and April 13th. I mean 13th.
I would ask for a correction on the special board of education meeting, April 30th. They have not listed
Yes.
With the one correction.
Okay. You fine with that as well?
Yes. 16th.
Okay.
I also think that I shouldn't be voting on the first one because I wasn't at the meeting, so
Okay.
maybe if you separate that one out from the final two.
same with me, abstain from
Okay. Can
games.
you pull those two off and just that one, Amy? Okay, is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion will carry. Thank you. Item 6, public forum. The public forum provides the public with the opportunity to ask questions about or address issues included on the school board meeting agenda. General operating rules of the public forum will be determined by the school board president once the number of people wishing to speak is identified on the night of the meeting. Prior to addressing the board, please clearly state your name and address and share with the board what agenda item you are speaking to the board on. This time, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the board? I'll ask again, is there anybody that would like to speak? Sure, go ahead.
Should I speak yet or can I speak later?
You should speak now. It's a public forum.
Public forum, yes.
Amy, I wonder if we could move the podium up like we had it last time. Yeah, that chance.
Well,
Oh, sure.
Just a little more comfortable with the reader.
Josh Mullins, 204-800, new address. Valley Lane, Mosinee, of course. I'm here on behalf of the extended contracts, and I'm for the extended contracts. And the reason being, I'm not sure on which advisors it pertains to, but particularly my child is active in FFA, and it's been a very important part of his high school structure. It's hard to get him motivated to go to high school, and it's one of the positive reasons he has gone to high school. And I want to just speak for the extended hours for the folks that take extra time with our students. And it's been a very positive experience for my son. And I do have 2 more coming down the pipe. So that's what I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Go ahead.
Shall Hicks, 1002 19th Street. For the same issue, the FFA contracts, I just want to, the extended time in the summer is, schools need support of the community, and a lot of the activities in the summer are giving back to the community. So kids are involved in volunteering at the fair, the lawn jam, planning activities throughout the year. They're well attended, very active group. So just want you to consider the community impact.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
My name is Corinne Largais, 1990 Hopi Road, Colorado. I too am here on the extended contract component for FFA. As Janella mentioned, so much of what FFA does is also outside of the school, so a lot of it happens in the summertime. And we really need, that advisorship in that component. They do give back to the community, and it is, I'm guessing, I don't know exactly the numbers, but I would assume it's probably the largest student group. If you take sports, you take the other extracurricular clubs within the school. And it's very well represented. It has high attendance, high activities, and so I think it's very important, and I am against cutting those hours. I think they are very well needed this community.
Is there anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to item 7, new business. Discussion and possible decision, signage for the District Educational Service Center boardroom.
Well, again, I've shared with a number of board members, I think, in past sessions, that some of you as individual board members have come to me and said, what could we do perhaps to redesign the room? What type of inspirational messages might we put up on the wall? How might the pictures be rearranged, etc.? But it was more individuals coming to me, and I talked with our board president, and I said, I think what we need to do is to get some direction from the board. Obviously, we have a new superintendent coming on board. But in the meantime, I asked one of our staff members, Heather Bartnick, to put together some thoughts. And is Heather here tonight?
Yeah, I'm here.
Here she is. I'm going to ask her to come up in just a second and share with the board, because she came downstairs, took some pictures of this room. You've got some examples of what might happen. In another lifetime, Heather worked in the area of graphic arts, I believe, and really has dealt with situations like this before. We need to know, as a group of administrators, what do you want us to do? Where do you want? Is this something you see as a student-led project? Is this something where you're prepared to spend some money to have it done? I don't want to say better, but to bring in some outside individuals in terms of whatever we're going to put up on the wall. How do you want to decide what the proper sayings are? How do you want to get your new superintendent involved? But before we deal with any of that, Heather, perhaps you could come to the podium and share a little bit. I did include the examples that you took pictures of.
Okay.
You might share with the board your thoughts about what could happen with this room.
Okay. Well, there's many different options of things that you can do with wall graphic signage. I printed out a couple different things because people aren't going to be probably real familiar with everything that is available.
Thank you.
So obviously, depending on what you put up is going to determine the look of the room. The first example that I have is just a vinyl graphic. That is something that we could likely do in-house at school through the Fab Lab. It's just going to be an adhesive vinyl that's going to stick to the wall. You can either do a printed graphic, could be as many colors as you want it to be. You can also get vinyl that's already a color and just do like cut lettering to do a saying on the wall if you want to do that. If you turn the page, the next option that I found a picture of was brushed aluminum, and that can mount to the wall with or without standoffs. That's probably going to be one of your more expensive options, but it has an interesting look. And if you turn the page again, PVC, that's what the pictures are printed on that are currently up on the wall. That you can also mount with or without standoffs. You can also do layering to give an effect of dimension. So that's an option. Then next we have acrylic. That's going to give kind of a glass look. When I mentioned standoffs, that's what's in the corners of these examples. That lifts it off the wall. To me, that's a real high-end look. And then finally, you can do acrylic with PVC. So rather than printing direct to the acrylic, it would just be a sheet over the top. So if you ever down the road want to change a graphic, you're not paying for the acrylic again, which is very expensive. You just swap out that PVC piece behind it. And then I didn't do a whole lot with the design because I didn't know what direction they were going in. But I didn't know if you wanted to do the mission statement, or if you want to just do sayings, if you want to do photos. So, that's looking for guidance from everyone as to what direction they want to go in.
Part of what at least a couple of board members had suggested was that perhaps on the wall in the back, and you see under examples, if you look at the enclosure, how we conceivably could move a lot of the pictures over here, assuming you want to keep all of the pictures. And depending on whatever inspirational message you want, those could be put on the wall. One of the suggestions is the Mosinee School District Board of Education could be located up here. At this point in time, we've taken the approach that all of the pictures would be kept in this room and relocated on this wall, but that may not be the case. I'm probably not the person to do this. 20 years ago when we built our house, my wife pretty much excluded me from the entire process, so.
Welcome to the club.
So basically, the most economical would be to keep in-house, Fab Labs, you're just paying for the material, so correct?
I think so. I think, well, after we decide, I guess, what direction we want to go in, I can get pricing, and then we can compare one to the other. If we do it in-house, I would recommend giving this room a fresh coat of paint. And then after it's painted, it's going to need to gas out for probably a month before you can apply the graphics or they'll peel off. And then I would also suggest maybe just doing a sample and make sure that what we have in-house is going to stay on the wall. I know they've used it in the schools and it's worked fine, but every wall texture causes different things to happen, so.
It seemed like we had enough individual board members that thought this was a good idea. So the idea was to bring it here tonight and to get some direction collectively from you as a board. Where do you want us to go? Do you see a committee being established? Do you want to turn this over to your new superintendent? It's really your room and the community's room. Certainly this discussion began probably 3 or 4 months ago, and I said I would continue to pursue it, but we're at a point now where I think you're getting some ideas as to what can happen. But now the issue is how does it happen? How do you see this being resolved so that all of you feel like you've got input and we end up with a product that you're proud of?
I personally like the idea of using the Fab Lab. For one, it's having the kids involved in this process as well and showing their talents, but also it's very cost effective to use that as well. But I think because we have a new superintendent, we want to look at the strategic vision, mission vision, revisit that. And since you want to redo your mission and vision every 3-4 years, then this way you can change it on a routine basis at a more cost-effective rate. But I think what we should do is perhaps wait till we have the new superintendent in place and we have that strategic vision team or committee that we may have, and then they can charter this as well, my opinion.
Well, that wasn't a motion. I second your perspective on timeline and what the messaging of this district would be. It could change over the next year with new leadership in place. I would also add that if we're an effective board and the community gets engaged, thank you everybody for coming here. Most of the seats are full. That's not always the case. That this may not be the ideal location to host board meetings, as we have other facilities within the school, to be more engaged with the community. And I'm just not sure that I'm personally convinced this is where we should have 12 meetings a year with the community. And if that view is shared with this board at some point as we discuss that, why would we spend a bunch of money in this room right now if we're going to host board meetings somewhere else?
So what I'm hearing, do we want to table this until August?
So I would need a motion.
So I guess I will make the motion to table this until the new superintendent is in place.
Okay.
I'll second it with the big thing, like her idea. I said, I kinda like with the kids, take, kids from the school, pictures of them.
Okay, so we have a motion by Kelly and a second by Mark to table this.
And just revisit it, right?
Until the next superintendent is in place. Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion will carry. Item B, discussion, update on compensation committee meeting Q4.
We had our fourth quarter meeting on May 9th. Some of the things that we discussed was, we looked into, and I think you guys remember, one of our teachers came and said, boy, I did 3 PD points and I'm not gonna get any compensation, I'm not gonna get a stipend. That stipend was always meant to be paid in the next school year. Everything that our teachers are working for this year to get PD points is for their next year's contract. So that was always the intention. And we used to pay that stipend out in May of the following year. We moved it up to September. So our compensation committee talked and we said we should change the language on the compensation schedule to state something that note that the stipend is earned and payable in the following year, providing that you are an employee in the following school year. So a teacher that's planning on retiring may choose not to get PD or earn PD points because they're not going to be paid that stipend because they're not returning the following school year. We also talked about should employees on the lower levels have the right to earn a stipend payment without earning PD points. Right now, as long as they're a teacher in good standing, if they choose not to earn the PD points, the teachers on the lower levels will still get paid a stipend. The committee wanted to table that until they got further information from their teachers. They wanted to collect that from them. We did share the PD survey results. And Julie, do you wanna?
Just in brief, it was basically the survey results were to assess the basis for earning points on the compensation level. Not so much the pay or the pay scale or the tiers, more so do our staff members appreciate and value the fact that our model is based on self-driven professional development, meaning they are able to write proposals of their choice and their passion in order to earn PD points. In some districts, that is very scripted for you, and you are offered classes, opportunities for points and professional growth only through their avenue and their channels and what those content choices are. So we had 71 responses out of about 150 teachers, which is a great response rate for a survey. And most of them said that they do appreciate and value being able to write their own proposals for their own growth in areas that are valued to them, whether it's their content area they teach, whether it's instructional, PD, doing professional growth around assessment, and or growth around collegial or group activities, either sponsored by the district, because we do offer some, and then we do allow teachers to create their own that are of value to them and enhance the instruction, assessment methods in their own classrooms. So it was overwhelmingly positive that they do appreciate at least the avenues they have to earn points in the model.
And this is something that we said we were going to run. After we started the compensation plan, we said in 5 years we were going to get a survey on this to see what our teachers thought of it. So that is why we held the survey, and it was very positive. So we also talked about should we discontinue the requirements of earning a master's degree in being able to move up the scale from level 4 to level 5. The committee said, no, we want to keep the master's degree. in order to move to level 5. We also talked about possibly carrying PD points over when a teacher earns a master's degree, because normally they have to take these classes in 18 to 24 months, so they got this big lump of PD points, and we say that you cannot carry it to the next level. Once you move to the next level, you can't carry forward any PD points, you have to start over again. They talked about it, didn't come up with quite a decision on that, but then they thought, well, maybe we can do something with a stipend when they earn a master's degree. For future agenda items, we discussed how many times per year should we hold the compensation committee meeting. We hold it 4 times per year. They're gonna discuss this at a future meeting. Should we call our compensation meeting something else? We feel that the compensation committee we outgrew, we got a compensation model going, and we just feel that maybe it isn't time well spent, and that we should come up with a different type of a committee, maybe something to do with handbook and benefits, and maybe have, the teacher staff and the support staff. But we are going to have our new superintendent, we're going to schedule a meeting in the week of July 22nd. And he is going to meet with the same committee, and they will go forward to discuss both items. That is it. Any questions?
Thank you, Darrell. Thanks, Darrell. All right, moving on to C, discussion and possible decision, approval of the elementary, middle, and high school handbooks for the 1920 school year.
Again, I think you've got the actual handbooks included if you want to look through those, but each of the administrators has taken time to separately list the changes that they're proposing for the contract next year. So again, I think we start with our elementary principal. Katie can share with you a few of the highlights, certainly if there's any questions. From there, we'll go to the middle school and go to the high school again. Sharing the highlights, and certainly opening it up to questions from the board on anything that you want further explained in terms of what's being proposed for a change next year.
Sure. For the elementary school, as you can see, we added a lot of information, basically just kind of refreshing what was already there. So we added the new calendar, the complaint procedures, we linked things directly to the policies that we have. Just the new buzzer system that we had, we didn't have that in last year's agenda or handbook. The early release information we added. If you scroll down, I'm not sure who's using the computer right now, there is a link that is a little bit easier to read than the red highlights. If you keep going, we linked in our actual handbook and we highlighted everything in yellow, so you specifically wanted to see what it looked like change in our handbook. So with our open house information, we stated that parents could receive early release information at that time. We took out the map of the building and our parking lot. It wasn't a very quality map. We didn't feel like, we have ones at the office for parents to come in and use, so we just took that out. We added, something as simple as birthday parties and holiday gifts. Just kind of cleaned up the language for a lot of our information. We did add different prices for the guest meal and breakfast. We, again, just added different information, nothing too new that you wouldn't have seen before, just like a little bit more user-friendly for parents, easier for them to read. We have issues with Pokemon cards and baseball cards. So we kind of put some of those things in so we can, when parents are asked to read this and then they can't come back and say, well, you never said that. And I'll say, well, you were supposed to read it. The makeup work policy that we just took right out of policy 5200, we just cut and pasted it for parents. So we just tried to clean it up a little bit and add some information. Dr. Garvey helped with some of the assessments and things like that. We took out the use of our locker rooms because our kids don't use the locker rooms, so we just took that right out. I mean, it was quite a chunk of our handbook about the locker room usage, and we don't use those, so we took those out. Mr. Milky has never used those. We added up where parents can see closing, so a lot of parents were like, where do you have it posted? So we put Facebook, the school website, we talked about the Remind app in there, that was something new that we added. And we did add a couple bus things that Diane helped us with. And yeah, so.
Are these on the website too for the parents?
Yes.
You have it linked?
Mhm.
And the value of this, again, I've shared this, I think, with the board before, certainly with the administrators, is that when the board approves this, it becomes the district, it's district policy. It's no longer Katie's handbook, it's not Josh's handbook. It has the full weight of the Board of Education. And there will be times during the year when somebody's gonna come in and they're going to question these rules. And as a building administrator, it's nice to be able to say, this is something that we went to the board, gave the board an opportunity to look at the entire handbook. And this is a handbook, at least for the coming year, that is supported by the entire board. We get a chance to change it every year. But the fact that it's the board's handbook, not the principal's handbook, is very, very important.
I got a question for the three principals. What percentage of guardians are using Skyward for the notifications for children missing school instead of calling in? I mean, I do it through Skyward.
I guess I would say it's for at the middle school, it might be 15 to 20.
It's pretty low. I'd say under 25%.
I use it myself.
It's great.
I love it, but I know most parents are not using it.
Yeah, we have very few.
That's right. I agree. Okay, any other questions for Katie in elementary? Josh?
Middle school handbook, a lot of the changes really revolve around additions and deletions based on the schedule starting with next school year. So you'll see a number of deletions specific to like course offerings like pyramid and study hall not being in the descriptions. Had to update the typical staff directory type things, but we also wanted to update the way the schedules are written in there to reflect what the new schedule is going to look like for each student. And then we added some language to our cell phone policy and procedures as far as what the actual consequences are in our policy for that. And those are the main examples. And then we added the pre-expulsion language because we did not have that in there previously. Not a ton of changes, but like I said, most of them are due to the new schedule for next year.
And any issues with the cell phones this year at all?
Very few. It's been a really good year as far as not having to confiscate and not having many issues with them at all.
Any questions besides that for Josh? Okay, high school.
Well, if you look up there, it's pretty much the same thing, just a few little minor changes. We added the school psychologist information, which we did not have in student services. Mary asked for us to add that as well as the special education information. For about 3 or 4 years, I had students and staff asking us to update the dress code, and I always said, no, let's just keep it as is, keep it as is. And finally I said, you know what, I'm going to get a committee together, you guys make a dress code that you feel comfortable with. And so we had some students talk about some changes that they felt would be necessary. And then we also had a staff, our PBIS team got together and looked at different dress codes from throughout the state of Wisconsin, and they found one from a school that they really liked, and they just tweaked it a little bit. So that's really where our dress code is currently now. So we got rid of our old dress code and basically just put a new one in that, I guess it just defined the dress code a little bit better. And we shared it with our entire staff so they could see it too. And then they asked us to tweak a few things, so then we tweaked a few more things. What was really fun with this process is it's not a Mr. Lehman thing, it's not a Mr. Greminger thing. It's students got together and asked for changes, staff got together and asked for changes, and this is the final product that they wanted. So then I told them I would bring it to the board tonight.
Nate, do you deal with a lot of the dress code issues?
Mr. Greminger and I do, yes. And there's a lot of, people want it to be black and white a lot, like for example, I would say that the shorts, right? And it's like 4 inches above the knee, and right now good luck finding shorts 4 inches above the knee, and I'm not gonna come out and get a ruler to make sure it's 4 inches above the knee. So it's a gray area, we want you to wear appropriate shorts. And if they're not appropriate, we're gonna take care of that, and you're gonna go home and change, or you're gonna wear the beautiful looking sweatpants that we have in Mr. Greminger's office.
So Nate, as I look at, tell me what appropriate shorts are in this policy, because I'm reading, as long as you don't have a cheek hanging out, it qualifies under this
Kind of
policy.
the B's, we don't wanna see any butts, we don't wanna see bellies, we don't wanna see boobs, and we don't wanna see boxers.
But the
So the
slang
kids
term,
could wear them too low
the
as
slang
well.
term Daisy Duke would be appropriate in the Mosinee school, given this policy.
If I see butts, that's not appropriate.
I'm opposed to this policy.
Once again, this is a students and staff, we talked about that and making sure that they are appropriate. And if a staff member thinks it's not appropriate and they bring it to our office, it's a gray area. It's not black and white.
As a parent of teenagers who will look at the letter of the law in the policy approved by the Board of Education, they will clearly identify that although their entire leg is visible, that none of their butt cheek is. And I don't know what you do at that point, other than now you are the arbiter of appropriate and not appropriate. Where we had a dress code policy in place that you can choose to enforce or not enforce depending on what it is, but it at least gave you the ability to put the Greminger sweatpants on any student that you felt appropriate. I don't think this does that for you.
I have a question too. Could you go back just a couple paragraphs?
Yep.
One more, please. So, is it the school goal to have all students graduate college and career ready? And if it is, what does that say to the students whose plan is not to go to college?
We still wanna try to prepare them to be college and career ready.
Okay, I get that.
We
If that's-
know that not all students are going to go to college. We wanna teach them about the values of being respectful, being responsible, and what truly being, successful is. We give them a lot of different opportunities as well in academics, so we understand not every kid is, but we're gonna give them that opportunity.
Okay.
Should that say college or career ready? Is that the point you're making? Or-
And I think it is.
Career more or less means ready to get a job, that's how I was understanding. Career and,
By the way, that reads the same, college and. So-
Which career to me in that wording says after you graduated from college.
okay, I see how you're reading it, yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm
Yeah.
not opposed to college.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna go on record right now.
Yeah.
Or to a career for sure.
Right.
I think that's the buzzword for
Yeah.
what you're saying right now, they call it college
And careers, that's what we do.
and it does mean whatever path, it's intended to mean whatever pathway that is for you as a student, but I can see why it could be interpreted differently.
Well, and I literally and specifically chose the question that I did. Does it send a message to the child who is not gearing in that direction? What about a child who joins the service, or the child who their goal is to become a parent? I mean,
And I would say
I
those are
want things to
careers.
happen in the right order,
Yeah.
but this is the real world.
I would say
But-
those are careers, and when we meet with when our
As would I.
students meet with their counselors, they set a goal, and we have academic and career planning every single month where they set goals and they set action steps on where they wanna be by the time they graduate, depending on what jobs they want.
That's fair.
Does that make sense?
And I was not minimizing your question at all, by the way.
Yeah.
No, I think there's value.
What would be your recommendation then? If you
Well-
don't like the shorts, if it's specifically the shorts, what would be your recommendation?
Can you bring that back down, students may wear up to, yeah, sorry, up.
What is it specifically that you don't like?
Well, my concern is that our current policy, and I'm a right-wing conservative, everyone that knows me knows that. So I had some student senate representatives approach me and they're like, hey, Mr. Barnes, what do you think of this? And I said, I'm not your guy. And they're like, okay, we'll talk to somebody else. But I can see someone that meets the criteria established. I'm a law and order statute guy that is dressed per this policy, and there's absolutely no way I would consider what they're wearing to be appropriate in the school setting. That's my concern, is this does not differentiate for our staff to enforce appropriateness, because now it's depending on the taste and the opinions of how many staff members that you have that can enforce this. Or it puts it all on you as the principal saying, oh, those shorts are okay and those aren't. Well, what's the difference? Well, a half inch, an inch, 2 inches?
Right.
I think you need some parameters.
It's gray, it definitely is gray, and that's what we talked about with the staff. That's why I brought it to you as well. The staff feels comfortable with what's up here right now, because we talked about that. And we talked to the staff of it. If you feel it's not appropriate, feel free to bring them to the office and we will take care of it.
I suspect, based on the conversation I had with the students that reached out to me, they were very respectful. They participated in our board meetings before. And I said, if we make more liberal rules, how far are you going to push it? And the answer I got was, well, to the limit. So I think it's a slippery slope that you're going down here with the right intentions, but I think the consequences of that could be very detrimental to the learning environment. And I'm not suggesting, although I probably would vote for it, uniforms. But
so is that your answer to the solution? Because if there's a problem and
I want you to have rules that you can enforce and don't require the taste of your teachers, and that it would have helped me, Nate, if you had a picture of what an off-the-shoulder shirt looked like. You're trusting my imagination to figure out what's appropriate here, and show me what an inappropriate and an appropriate pair of shorts is that you're going to use to make decisions about how our kids are represented in the school.
Fair enough.
One question I have is, I thought spaghetti straps weren't allowed before, now they are?
Right.
Okay.
Talking with our staff, that's one thing, that's more of the in style now, that this is what kids are wearing, and they're asking for us to allow those.
I'll just say I'm glad my kids are.
Yeah.
I would not, just speaking as a parent, I would not allow my daughter out of the house with spaghetti straps or off the shoulder top going to high school. It just wouldn't happen. And having both a son and a daughter, I would not like to see girls no. Again, that's my opinion, but.
And maybe just
Like I said, this is just the voice of the staff and the students. They were asking for a change. We had an outdated policy from the early 2000s, and they were asking for me to bring a policy that they worked on to the board that they feel is more appropriate.
And I think that's the thing that, this is a policy for 1 year. This isn't something that's going to be here forever. If it's not working, you're going to hear
about it from the staff if they don't feel like it's
We'll probably hear from it, parents.
Yeah. Well, I've heard the opposite from parents. How am I supposed to get shorts for my daughter that are 4 inches from the knees? They're not there. And you're telling me that 8 inches isn't appropriate from the knees?
So how many
That's what they all are.
They're called Bermudas.
How many times this year?
Okay, thank you.
How many
Yeah,
times this
this is
year?
why Bermuda shorts.
I had that problem.
Did you have this issue this year raise itself yet?
I get it continuously about the short line. That is to the point now the staff are like, we are not bringing you a student that's not wearing the Bermuda shorts. I mean, so we're basically not even following our policy right now.
Well,
The
here's
staff are not.
the one thing, it says clothing that reveals undergarments. Well, when you got a spaghetti strap on, you're kind of revealing your undergarment.
Yeah.
So that's kind of.
You want to add Scott to that? Because Scott was a part of the PBIS.
Slide over a little bit.
I don't know.
I don't know how much more I can add than what Nate's already said. Like he was saying, this is brought forward by students and staff. We worked for the better part of the year on this and tweaking, and I don't know how many hours that I've spent with students and staff in PBIS looking at this, and they thought, like he said, we had the team leaders look at it, and then we sent it to the staff, and we didn't have, what is up here now is what the staff was supporting. And if they are okay with it as it is written, I don't see, you know, to be honest, I don't see an issue with it then.
I guess I'm in the same place as Matt, but I trust the administration and the teaching staff. I would like to see the sentence, no, the one that says, it's already got the sentence in there, may not show your undergarments, or whatever it says, like 4 sentences down, okay? But I agree with Amy, I mean, if you're wearing certain types of blouses, or your pants are too low, I mean, you're gonna be showing your undergarments, so.
Same with the off the shoulder, possibly. I mean, I guess I'd approve it, but without the off the shoulder and no spaghetti straps.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think that this could be a very robust conversation between yourself and this board and amongst each other, because, you know, I might.
Why do you
have
think
one
I said
concern.
no for the past 3 years? Finally told the staff, you know what, listen to what you want me to present. And this is what the team wanted me to present.
I can't support this policy. I can't support this policy as written.
So what are your suggestions to fix? Because we're gonna be printing off the planners within about a month.
Is a shoe a flip-flop?
Could be.
I knew that's the right answer.
I mean, I think when you read this, there are pieces that you're gonna like and pieces that you are not going to like. Every board member probably has some things that they like about it and things that they don't like about it. That's the challenge with change, I guess, no matter when you change. Like, we're gonna have graduation in the hockey rink. There are people that like parts of the change with graduation in there, and there's people that don't like parts of it. But it's what's best for this. When we surveyed what do people want, where they want to be, and that's what the majority wanted. The majority of our staff want this, and the students want this change, so. And then you guys obviously have the final say. I'm just speaking what the students and the staff have decided on and changed and tweaked throughout the year.
Sure.
So.
You know, I mean, very good points you made. I mean, we could look at it and bring some of this back and appoint some of you to work with the staff. But Kevin, you know, I mean, go ahead if you.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the handbooks, all 3 of them, as presented to us tonight. And I just hope we spend as much time on curriculum and preparing kids to be career ready and college ready as we have on this already tonight. And yes, I'm gonna hold my nose and I'm gonna vote for this if it gets to a vote. So I'm making that in the form of a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
What is it, spaghetti straps and stuff, they're doing that now?
No.
No.
They stretch
Get
it.
away with it.
Oh, see,
Is there a second? Okay, the motion will die.
I'll make the motion that we approve the elementary and middle school changes
Okay.
with some, what do I want?
Yeah, remember we're printing these
We're
off
not
here
coming
shortly.
back
Okay. And
unless you say
Well,
with your policy.
I've got a question on that. Are there some policies on here that we need a second reading on?
Well, we'll let Kelly finish your motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the middle school and the elementary's, changes as advised. And we will bring back this in June.
Is that gonna give you time?
No.
if we have it-
No, I need to send this to the printer. I've been waiting for this meeting. Otherwise, we won't have them for the start of the school year.
Okay. Do you want to reword your motion?
All right, I'm gonna go for this one more time. I'm gonna make a motion we approve all 3 with the exception on the high school, we return to the old dress code policy.
So we have a motion by Kelly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Matt. Further discussion?
my question is, the old dress code,
Do we have that anymore?
do we have that?
Yes. Can we bring that up?
Brady, can you find that?
It should be linked to the right above. Go to handbook changes. If you scroll back up to the top. All the way to the top of the,
I know.
I think it's all the way to the top of the document. Yep. They're listed on
Your
there.
options are either accept the changes, reject them, or offer language changes to it right now, but I think that the ability.
You know where it
My second is that it's more vague words, administration has that discretion, which is.
Page 18. 18? 18.
In high school?
Page
In the high school.
So, go on. Right there.
This is the current one.
What is not working about the current
Well, I hear some of the main, well, we removed the 4 inches above the knee statement regarding the shorts and the skirts. Talked about allowing tank tops, students to wear tank tops, including the spaghetti straps. Because you will see a spaghetti strap will peek out here or there, and the staff are like, what do we do with that? Allow the shoulder tops, obviously some kids like to wear shoulder tops. Scott, anything else on that?
No, those were the primary changes. We did add like our goals and values, our philosophy to it at the end of the new document. But everything else is essentially the same, just been reworded.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second, further discussion.
Will you just reiterate what the changes aren't, so that full board is aware what they're voting on?
We'll go back, you go back, those
Yeah.
policies in here, there's both policies on.
Right.
So,
So what, I just heard Nate and Scott say there was very few changes,
Correct.
correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
okay,
the full board or the,
okay,
Except now, again, Kelly, if you're saying, you see where the shorts was whatever inches above, right? I think it's further up. Oh, wait, no, it's
Yeah,
right
it's
there.
the 1,
It's not
2,
spelled out.
3,
Right there.
4, I think.
Should be 4 inches above the knee. I mean,
Yeah.
you're asking us to approve something that's impossible.
that's how it's been,
I know, but it's not.
that's how it's been.
I
Yeah,
do
that's
understand
a
that,
big,
but it's
you know,
not
staff are like, we
realistic
gotta
as
fix
far as
this.
what a person can buy
So I
in the
let them
store
get it
these days.
communicated.
So-
That's what I'm saying.
So propose something other than just doesn't show the buttocks. Then,
unless you.
then somewhere between 4 inches that gives you the flexibility. Like Nate, I trust you that when any of us, if we see something that's inappropriate, we know when we see something that's inappropriate, right? But
Correct.
my struggle is, you're gonna try and hold a student accountable and put Grimminger sweatpants on them, which I'm sure are really attractive, but not really. And the student's gonna pull this out and say, I am within the rules that you established and the Board of Education established. So if it's not 4 inches, is it 6 inches? Tell me what it is, other than
We wanted
right
to get
below
away,
the hinder.
we wanted to get away from the inches, because some students have shorter legs than others. Some students will wear regular shorts, but because they have bigger legs, those shorts are gonna creep up. And then that's not gonna be 4, 6, or 8 inches. There are students that can't even afford to buy shorts, so they're wearing the shorts from their sister, who is smaller than them, so then their shorts are creeping up. What do I wanna do with those kids when it's still appropriate where their butts are not showing? So, the staff did not wanna go with a number of 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. It's that their butts are not showing, and if they are, then I'm going to give them something else to wear.
That's not showing in a.
Because it's hard to measure in inches.
Right, it is, but I guess.
Yes, read that. Well, we're in discussion right now, but.
Let me just insert this. We have parents coming in. I've not had tons of parents, and I did have recently one parent that came in and sort of echoing what you were saying, Amy. If you're going to take a look at the dress code, please consider what we as parents are able to purchase out there in the stores. And indicating that for children, depending on who they are, how tall they are, she used the word curvy, how curvy they are. It becomes a real challenge for some of these parents to find the clothing that fit our old dress code. And that we give some leniency, some judgment to our administrators to be able to work with, this is what's available. Now, I'm not shopping for teenagers today. I don't exactly know what she's talking about, but Amy, it sounds like you do in terms of we have to recognize what's out there in the market for moms and dads to be able to buy. That's the best way she described it.
In the proposed changes page, the second sentence says, student dress or grooms should not affect the health or safety of students or disrupt the learning process within the classroom or on school grounds, which should be the foundational perspective of any dress code. And I would say that certain attire definitely acts as a disrupting manner. But again, I guess my feeling is that I trust the team in the school to take responsibility, and if it isn't working, we can come back here, and regardless of what it says in the student manual or the student handbook, the school district, the high school could change its policy mid-year. So that's, I guess, the perspective that I was bringing to my initial motion and then comment to the Q&A opportunity after the motion and second was made.
That's what I would ask, is you trust us with the gray area. And if you're hearing complaints, feel free to bring it up to me about, we gotta do something about it, this is what we're hearing. I'm willing to give it a chance, that's why I was willing to give my staff a chance to tweak the dress code. And we can tweak it again next year at this time.
You're gonna get tested probably like you haven't before
Yeah.
because of these changes, but that's where you have a responsibility to be responsive to the discussion you've heard tonight as well as your staff, which you've given that lenience to, that ability to make an argument for. So,
Further discussion? If not, we do have a motion and a second.
To approve all the handbooks with the exception of the dress code for the high school returning to the old policy.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Could you just tell me who said no? I'll just write that down.
Five nays.
Sorry,
Five
didn't see
no's.
works.
Now we need a motion.
Amy.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the elementary and the middle school as presented. High school, approve the high school as presented with the exception of 2 changes to the dress code, and that would be no spaghetti straps and no,
Off the shoulder.
off the shoulder. Because with off the shoulder, the bra undergarment would show as well, so I mean, it kind of goes against the other line item.
Okay, so we have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
And a second by Mark, further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Aye.
Can we go back to yours?
Well, I don't think we can bring my motion that already was killed by not getting a second.
Somebody else could make a similar motion.
I will make a motion to approve all 3 handbooks as presented.
I'll second it.
What was the motion? Sorry.
To approve
All
as
3
is.
handbooks as presented.
Your motion.
Yes. And it was seconded by Mark. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. 2 more? 3.
3 no.
Need 4 yes.
Yeah, I'm going for it.
Okay. All right, we move on. So you got the 3? Okay.
Welcome to the school board.
There goes the walking buck scheme.
Okay, item 7D, discussion and possible decision approval of extended contracts.
Again, if the board looks at the supporting material that's in there, I'm gonna let Julie talk a little bit about what's presented there. I'm not quite sure, but this is on Julie's watch, so she's gonna share with you what's being presented.
It's great, nice to see you all this evening. Some of the extended contracts, as you can see, are more curricular in nature, and some are more systematic or infrastructure type contracts. So it's basically you have in front of you, the reduction for this year would be from 108 last year in 18-19, or I should say, the reduction proposal for next year would be a reduction of 27 days. And if you click on, if you go back up to the top of this document, and then click on that 19-20 extended contracts. Thank you. Those that are listed there, basically we had a job description change which removed 20 days completely from the extended contracts. And then we had a reduction in Laura Agema, our K-12 librarian, from 5 in this year to 3 as proposed next year. We also had a reduction, or an addition to Laura Summers, who is our one district psychologist right now because Kelsey Ortel went on family medical leave. So we are asking for up to 5 days for some of the summer work. Kelsey is on leave until October approximately, and we are asking that Laura fulfill some of those duties that Kelsey normally would have completed if she were not on FMLA leave. She just had a baby. She may not use all 5, but up to 5 days. And then there was a board request for a reduction in Brittany Babbitt's extended contract of 20 days to 10. We as a district feel very supportive of Brittany's extended days at 20. Our proposal would have been to leave that at 20 due to the extensive activities and facilitation of tasks that are completed. Not only remember, extended contract days are not just summer days, and sometimes I think that's a misperception. Sometimes some of those tasks occur in the summer, but as you can see, like with Dr. Garvey, with her 20 extended days, she is a 0.6 FTE and is asked to come in many times during the school year for meetings and in-service days and professional development opportunities. So those extended contract days can and do sometimes occur from July 1 to July 1. So that much that can take place in the summer, but just for your information, past practice in Mosinee prior to my time has been that those extended contract days, can and are intended to be for the full calendar year. So I know that Brittany's here this evening, and Nate, as the school principal, who certainly has a more intentional and focused relationship with FFA in the extended days, would probably like to say a few things in support of that and going from the 20 to the 10 days.
Before we get to that, can I just ask a quick question
Sure.
about the school psychologist? You said was a 0.6 FTE, and
No, and Dr. Garvey is a 0.6.
it's so, my question is, does the additional days change the status of an employee from participating in the Wisconsin retirement system and the cost of benefits to the district? Because my understanding is if you're a state employee or part of the Wisconsin retirement system, which I think most of you are, that, I just want to understand the fiscal impact to the district. That 0.6 or less, no. 0.6 or more, yes, and then my guess would be 20 days would put us over that limit.
That is so an HR director question, because I would have to defer to Darlene.
0.75 allows the teacher to have the benefits, but as for the Wisconsin retirement, she is allowed in the Wisconsin retirement at a 0.6. I think that the extended days gives us the opportunity, if there isn't this need for it, then we don't have the extended days.
Yeah, you don't have to sell me on the need, I just
Yes,
wanted to
yeah.
understand the impact to the
It's a good
district.
question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And again, before Nate comes up, to share with the individuals that spoke on behalf of FFA. Certainly, we've heard that earlier this year. We were dealing with Brittany's FFA contract. And it was at one of our compensation committees. I don't think Brittany was there. But certainly there were a number of teachers there who talked about all the little things, all the hours, and how often they see her in the building supervising FFA. Tremendous support from the people that work with Brittany. When we took a look at where the program has gone over the last 5 years, I think Brittany, when we came on board, probably about 40-some students involved in the FFA program. Right now, I think we're up to 73, 74 students that are in the FFA program. So again, in no way does the reduction from 20 days to 10 days reflect anything in terms of what Brittany is doing in terms of that program. The program is working, from our perspective, extremely well. What we were looking at is documentation. And from an administrative perspective, last year Brittany had 20 days that were given to her as an extended contract. At the end of the year, it basically said she had actually completed 29 hours, or 29 days. And we simply turned in 20. So in a sense, she actually worked, in her mind and in Nate's mind, 9 days above and beyond the 20 days that were given to her. So when we sat down and began to look at where we are right now, the thing we recognized is that we need to do something today. Because rather quickly, the activities in June are going to start. And we can't wait until the June meeting to give Brittany, in other words, if we don't deal with something tonight, how does she actually start with her days in June? So the idea was to approve at least 10 days tonight. But then beyond that, to be able to get a sense of what is it that her FFA contract calls for. Is there anything in that FFA contract that says Brittany should be doing some things during the summer? And if so, what? We don't know the answer to that question. Perhaps not. Perhaps the FFA contract simply says you have 72 kids that you're working with, and you're starting in September, and you're finished, typically in the end of May, and that may be it. The FFA contract is very vague in terms of what is required of Brittany for extended days.
Right.
So what we wanted Nate and Brittany and probably Zach to sit down to do is to clearly identify, if she puts in 120 hours, I think roughly that's about what the FFA contract looks at, what's going to happen those 120 hours? And then above and beyond that, what are the other things that are going to be impacted? In other words, last year, there were 9 days that Brittany did not turn in. But she still volunteered for some of those things, or took that on. We need to get a better handle of, if we're going to approve 20 days, and this is where I've asked Nate, prioritize what are the top 20 days or the hours that accumulate 20 days, so we can say to Brittany, here are the things that we want you to do. But at the same time, if we come back to you in June, we're going to have to say to the board, here's some things that aren't going to happen. At least not with the number of days that are currently, now you may be fine with that, but at least you'll know that, I don't want to pick anything out, because as soon as I say it, somebody's going to say, the superintendent said this isn't going to happen, so I won't go there. But I'll tell you that you're probably going to hear some things that within the 20 days probably are no longer going to happen. There are some districts that give more than 20 days, some give 25 days. It's not uncommon, districts give 18, I can give them 20, 25. So for the people in the room that were wondering, our intent, at least my intent, was never to cut 20 days. It was simply to get started with 10, and then to let Nate and Brittany, and because Zach's involved with the FFA portion of it, to give us a much better description of this is what her FFA contract allows her to do. And if that takes up everything during the school year, then what do we want her to do during the summer? What are the activities? There are kids counting on some of these things. So I hope the audience please understand our goal was not to just slash 10 days. It was to get started with 10 days right now so she can start her the summer projects, revisit this again in June so we can then make a decision. And I won't say how many more days or how many less days, but simply to give Nate and Brittany and Zach a chance to give us a better sense of what those additional days will be used for. So Nate, having said that, obviously there's some things I think you want to share.
Well, when Brittany and I have worked really hard on looking at all of the things she does throughout the year. In the past, we just said, here's 20 extended days. I gave them to Brittany, and then Brittany would fill out, here's the first 20, and I'm still doing more. I said, well, thank you for volunteering those extra 9, sometimes 15 extra days. I would like to continually give her the 20 days, and at the next meeting, I could share with you. I mean, I have it all here right now, but obviously I've talked enough tonight.
And maybe let me jump in a little bit, because part of what I had talked about doing was possibly coming to the board tonight. Brittany and I talked on Friday, she was prepared to work over the weekend, so was Nate, to bring to you tonight a very extensive list. But early on, what you had shared with me as a board is one of the things you did not want to see happen is these last minute presentations. In other words, something given to you tonight, and you've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes to reflect on it, and then you're asked to make a decision. I think we can all agree that there's many, many things that Brittany does. If you live here, you have to be aware of the summer activities that FFA is involved. I'm confident that we're going to easily justify 10 days in the early part of June. Beyond that, I'd like to give this to you sometime when our board agenda comes out again for June, and then you'll have time to reflect on it, to think about it, and it's not John Burnett suddenly presenting something to you tonight where you've got 5 minutes to think about it and make a decision. So that's why I've asked Nate not to come forward with a litany of things. Please look at this, please look at this, please look at this, because it's sort of going against the protocol that you've asked me to follow as your interim superintendent.
So what I'm hearing then, we should get that information, Nate, correct? Next board meeting.
Okay.
And so tonight, we're asking you to approve the extended contract that's there with the clear understanding that we plan on revisiting Brittany's portion of it once again in June. And at that point in time, I'll be able to give you a much clearer expectation of what's being asked for, probably share with you some of the things that may not happen, because we need to start thinking about that. In the past, she's done a number of these things on her own. My fear is when you do them on your own, you're not exactly covered by the school board. You're out there on a limb, and we ought to know what things are we're approving and what things, so that Brittany doesn't put herself in a position of liability by simply saying, well, I did all these other things. Well, we appreciate that, but we need to know specifically what are the things that are being approved by the board.
Yes.
But my concern with this as presented is many of us in the room have kids that are members of FFA, and they're looking at things later in the year that they're excited about doing, and the idea that we're going to wait another month and have them go into the summer wondering whether these things that they were under the impression are available to them through the summer as members of these clubs are going to be available, and that we will continue to get more information and debate how many hours or how many days this contract should be. I am a believer in there should be appropriate documentation, and we should be tracking the hours of our people under extended contracts. I think there's tremendous room for improvement. I think this is an initiative that our new superintendent is going to have to take over. It's his responsibility to hold our staff accountable for that. But the idea that right now we're only going to approve 10 days, and the message we're sending to our students and our parents who see the benefits of the hours that Ms. Babick puts in the summer, and I will be the first one to tell you, I have 2 sons, full disclosure, who are members of this. Ms. Babick has conned my family into taking care of rabbits in the summer and the goal of keeping it alive. And when that wasn't going to happen, she's at my house in the middle of the week picking up rabbits, taking them to vet appointments. I don't question whatsoever whether the appropriate number of days are being put in, and knowing that that's the case, that the time is being put in, I think we're at zero risk that we're paying someone for days that they're not working. I would encourage this board to consider my motion of adding the 10 days back to the contract right now, setting, in the June meeting, we set clear expectations on how these hours are to be handled, and we allow our kids going into the summer right now to know that these things that they have planned and are working on a regular basis with Ms. Babick are available to them throughout the summer, and not have to wonder what decisions the board's going to make a month from now. I will tell you that I'm firsthand witness and will testify to this board that Ms. Babbitt puts in the days. I'm not sure I would if I was in her situation, I appreciate that. And our kids love being part of that program. And I think this is, 10 days is well deserved for this position. So I'll make the motion to add the 10 days back in regards to the additional days.
So you're saying a total of 20?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Matt and a second by Peter. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Because she's already being paid for the first part of June, so 10 days.
She's already,
I mean,
we're
it's
just gonna bring it back.
So it's like, our next meeting is in June, so I mean, they'll get added back in.
It's about the
So
proper
it's not like-
documentation.
We still having discussion?
Well, we need a new motion.
We already
Yours
voted,
failed.
so.
New motion.
The concern is,
I'm
there are
voting.
events planned and scheduled throughout the summer that exceed that, and I know that our student body that's participating in that don't wanna wait another month to find out whether we're going to approve all those events, or which ones are gonna get canceled, or which ones aren't.
Matt, I might be able to answer that. If I was explained correctly, she is paid in advance, correct, for this summer already? For the
No, she has to log all of the hours that she occurs in that.
For
Once
the
those hours-
1920.
And
So
then she-
already 1919 is already handled.
That's not right. Well, let's.
But I mean, that's what I was just, okay, I was just kind of clarifying that for you, because you said you didn't know if some events would be taken. I don't
Okay.
sure.
So right
Well,
now
you're
we are
saying
looking for.
post July 1, is that what you're saying? I don't think
I
that's
think
true.
right now we need to approve some days. These first 10 days would allow Brittany to start working in June. And again, they might be able to share some of those things, I could read them off. But there's fairs, there's tractor, I'm not an FFA person. but-
State FFA Convention, Washington Leadership Conference, Safe Tractor Operating Contest is happening on June 14th. That's that's a total of 10 days as of right now.
Okay, but the question is, this, if we approve these extended days, when does the last time we voted on this end and the new one start?
That's what I'm wondering, when is 2018, 2019 going now?
Right.
Well,
Well, it goes to
Depends
the end
on-
of the school year, and then we've added, if we pass the current proposal, it'll add 10 days to the end of the school year, correct?
Brittany has already used up all of the days
Oh, okay.
from the last time
Okay.
this extended contract
I
was
thought
done.
it was
There's
20
nothing
days
left.
after, already approved in June 7th.
Well,
There-
this would take us to 10 days beyond the end of this school year. Not the end of the school contract, which is June 30th, the end of the school year. Because the teachers don't, is that wrong? I mean, the teachers don't have student contact days past the last day of school. But the contract goes through June 30th. We're talking about adding 10 days in the current contract year, which ends in June, on June 30th, for which you would add, if I understand it correctly, no, that's not right?
I think literally, when her teaching contract is done, there are things that she'd be expected to do, to go to the fair, to go to various places. There's nothing right now under her FFA contract, nor under her extended day contract, to cover working with those students on June 3rd, June 4th, June, I'm just picking up dates.
Mhm.
That's when it would actually start.
That's what I
Now,
was trying to say.
we could get into some real, Brent and I were talking earlier. There are some districts that do extended contracts strictly on the fiscal year. In other words, nothing starts until July 1st. There are other districts that book it to when the activity occurs. In this case, we'd be booking it to when the activity occurs. Some of the extended contract would be coming out of the 2018-19 budget. Some of it would be coming out of the 19-20 budget. To say that we would wait until July 1st and 2019 for her to get started, and I know what Matt's saying, I understand this, that there's some uncertainty there in terms of what else is going to get approved or not get approved. That is really what you have to wrestle with. My proposal was that I have every intent of bringing this back in June and showing you the other things that need to be accomplished as a part of the extended day program. And quite honestly, if she turned in 29 last year, she didn't turn in 29, she actually did 29, turned in 20. My guess is there's going to have to be some tough choices about what things we're going to approve for the additional 10, what things aren't going to happen, or you may end up with more than a 20-day contract. As I said, some districts do 25. I don't want to put a number on it. You have to decide as a board,
I'll make the
this is what we
motion
want
to
us to do.
approve.
Okay, well, you wanna make the motion as you can ask the question.
I'll make the, motion to approve what's recommended by the superintendent for the 10 days, to bring back in June, to revisit and to what's the word I'm looking for?
Revisit
Yeah.
the number of days.
The
Okay.
number of Brittany's days.
Okay, so we have a motion by Kelly, is there a second? And a second by Amy.
Is this just for this particular contract or for all of the contracts? So, are you,
No, it's just, what you are presented with tonight, what we have in our board packet is what Kelly is making the motion to approve.
but that's what I need clarification. I think all of us did, because she specifically talked about Brittany, so
Okay.
is this, are we,
She meant 10 days.
yeah,
Yeah,
approving as presented?
yes, okay. And Amy, you have a question?
So when Brittany's paid for being the FFA, advisor, or whatever, all of those hours occurred during the school year. So the 20 days is just strictly summer time.
Well, that's what we need clarified. I would share with you that it's a very loose job description for what happens during FFA right now. And that's one of the things we want Zach to work on and to work with Nate to work on. But ideally, an extended contract, or excuse me, an activities contract for football. It starts in the fall and it ends sometime in November, after the playoff season. She has an FFA contract that typically starts at the beginning of the school year. And in a perfect world, it ends on that last day of the year, supervising around 70-some kids throughout the year. That's her FFA contract, co-curricular activities contract for her school year. Then we move into the summer. I don't know, and that's why I'm asking Brittany, has there been any historical precedent set where her FFA contract has covered anything into the summer? I can't answer that, I don't think so. I don't believe it should.
Well, no, I don't
No
think it
one
should.
has
I
ever
just want,
directed to say this FFA is during this time to this time, the extended contract is from this time to this time.
Exactly. It's
We just
very
wrote down the first 20 extended contract days and then they were approved.
And don't put loosey-goosey in there, so sorry. It's very loose.
I
And
will
that's where I
second
thought by
Kelly's
giving
motion.
Nate a chance to work with Brittany and to come back. Understand, we're not questioning her work ethic. She receives praise from everybody that works with her in terms of the hours and the time that she puts in. It was simply a matter of being able to come to you as a board and say, clearly, here's what the first 10 days are going to be used for, and here's what the additional days are going to be used for. I'm committed to bringing that information back to the board, but to giving it to you in time for you to reflect on it before you make your decision in June.
Okay, so we currently have a motion by Kelly and a second by Amy. Any other questions or discussion?
Just real quickly, I appreciate the philosophical principle of not being asked to vote on something for which we don't have additional information. I like that policy. I think that's good governance. So long as informally you are being directed, I guess, to provide to the superintendent and or the board president appropriate and sufficient information so we can make good decisions next month.
Right, and I was gonna make sure Nate has that information. Clear this up. Yep, right, I'm fine with that.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Just two? Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. All right, moving on to, Julie, might as well just say right there. Item 8, Curriculum and Standards Committee meeting report.
Great, I'm gonna ask Dr. Garvey to join me. She is our reading coordinator for the district. The Curriculum and Standards Committee met in May, and Kevin was our new member, so we're.
Julie, I hate to interrupt you just for a second. If anybody wants to stay, you're more than welcome, but some of you were here.
Sure.
We'll let you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That will make you feel like walking out at you.
Thank you. We met last week, and we really had two main agenda items, and I will cover the first initially with you. There are quite a few links that were linked into the documentation that you had that have much more detailed information, but we're really excited to bring forward to you a materials adoption recommendation from the Curriculum and Standards Committee for a K-8 materials adoption for the Lucy Calkins reading and writing curriculum, along with some facets of Fountas and Pinnell's reading components. For the last, just a little background, because there's a really extensive PowerPoint in there, and we gave a much more very detailed information to the Curriculum and Standards Committee. But the foundation of our best practices and of reading instruction is we were really looking to provide that guaranteed and viable curriculum journey that we have been on in the district for the last couple of years with identifying power standards and curriculum mapping and all the extensive work our staff has done to ensure that the standards are being taught in our classrooms. Those Wisconsin model academic standards are being taught in our classrooms in all content areas. We went through an extensive Eureka Map K-12 implementation over the last couple of years, and we are really seeing that when you have a curriculum that is strong in the sense that it paces out the great bands of what students are supposed to know and be able to do by the end of certain grade levels, and it's clearly defined, and staff have great professional development to be able to teach that, and there are no gaps and repetitions in a consistent curriculum K-12, such as going with Eureka Math K-12 from Engage New York. We really are finding some great additions in student outcome scores and some benefits to that. We have not approved a true materials adoption for reading and writing curriculum since probably the early 90s. So we have had great pockets of goodness, but we have had a very stratified and diversified curriculum that we were using. So the curriculum really doesn't define what you do. The foundation and the practices do. So we have been working with our K-8 staff on a workshop model approach. And basically the workshop model is it's comprised of a reading time, a reading workshop, a writing workshop, and a language workshop. So for most of us that looks like spelling, phonics, grammar. And that approach is very research-based in that it does a lot of things for us that we believe are in our strategic plan and our mission and vision and are just the best instruction for kids. It allows for differentiation. It allows for kids to have choice in what they read, a voice in what they write, authentic reading and writing tasks each and every day, and high levels of engagement based on texts that are at their level. So when we talk about trying to meet the needs of a very limited, gifted and talented resource person and our coordinator, and how does that look when we think about kids who are really struggling with intervention needs, and we think about all the kids in the middle, a workshop approach is really grounded in the facets that it allows us to differentiate instruction in reading, writing, and language, spelling, grammar, phonics, in a way that is a highly crafted dance as a teacher, because that's a lot of groups and individual needs to manage. But that workshop approach isn't just teaching to one set of kids. It allows us to really differentiate. So we are firmly grounded in the workshop approach. We've been working with it at the elementary a little bit longer, the middle school over the last 2 years, 18 months, 2 years. And we just didn't have the appropriate tools to really provide the resources needed, a universal resource, to make the workshop model most efficient and most effective. Did I miss anything? Anything to add on that facet of it? Okay.
You covered so much.
Quick, just to echo with that piece, like what we've seen the success with the math and having those really clear learning targets that are vertically aligned, K-12 in the math, and K-8 in the ELA. It helps us deliver a curriculum that's really cohesive and have shared learning targets at every grade level, whereas right now we have a lot of autonomy to get to those power standards that have been identified, but the tool of having a resource to support those and will help us have that parenting and viable curriculum. So we've been using facets of the Lucy Calkins materials and the Foundation Canal materials in certain grade levels. And expanding that is really our best approach, and that our teachers have already received some professional development. Both facets, the reading and the writing and the language piece, will be new for some grade levels, but this K-8 approval of curriculum for us in the ELA will give us that kindergarten through 8th grade seamless curriculum with really great foundational instructional practices, which is the heart and the backbone of how standards are being met, in a very extensive and consistent and cohesive manner. So we were recommending a resource, and along with that resource, to help us facilitate again the foundation of the workshop model, we've been in contact with CISA 6 in professional development year-long, probably multi-year proposal and contract, where they would be coming for monthly visits for our K-8 staff, and providing us information and professional development on all of the facets of that workshop model. And the tool that CISA 6, the trainer, Nicole Lair, is willing and her expertise lies heavily in, are the materials, the universal resource that we would be using as well. So teachers would be getting an extensive, high-quality professional development experience on the workshop model, also using the resources we would have at hand for them in their classrooms, which is really exciting and will bring great fidelity to our curriculum and alignment and our maps. And we are giving the teachers through this process some really valuable tools, and that their curriculum maps will be basically laid out for them, their pacing guides, their year to year. And the nice part about this universal resource is there are also pockets where grade levels can put in units of study that are passionate for them. Some of the middle school teachers especially have units that they do kind of thematic units with other content areas that are special for them and valued, and they're related to content that is valued by their teams and departments. And this curriculum allows us some flexibility throughout the year to be able to do those kinds of things and still be in alignment with the standard instruction. So the two lines you see there are really, the Curriculum and Standards Committee has recommended the approval of a materials adoption at K-8, but in tandem, because the CISA 6 contract is also the professional development contract is over $10,000, we also would need approval. The total for that contract is $18,000 for the year, which is actually extremely reasonable for the number of teachers we are touching with this, and the monthly snippets and sessions with us of information that we will be providing. So those two go hand in hand in terms of the integration of the two with each other. We really have one, we could, but we would really, the recommendation was to approve both, so that our teachers not only have the workshop model PD, the universal resource, but the high quality professional development that comes with that.
Usually the funds are already part of the budget, correct?
Yes, they are part of our my normal curriculum and professional development operating budget.
So you're basically looking for items
B and
B and
C.
C to be, okay.
They can be separate, but just so you know, they're packaged together, that's why they're going on there.
How many teachers did you say were
K-8, 38 plus special ed staff, that is 15 approximately.
Why CISA 6 and not CISA 9 how many CISA 9 districts are using this curriculum?
That's a great question. CISA 9 doesn't offer this flow. They work collaboratively with each other, and some of the CISAs offer specific professional development in certain content bands and streams. And CISA 6 and Nicole happens to be providing this professional development to, for sure, 2 other districts in our CISA 9 area. It's just that they offer this strand of professional development.
What's the feedback from those other districts, from the staff who is having to use it? And I guess a question to Katie and then Josh, and the support from your staff?
I'll say that the K-8, and especially the middle school staff, for years has asked for a specific resource that they can use for ELA, because they're kind of all over the place a little bit. They're pulling in their own resources, and there hasn't been something specific. Kind of like we currently have with Eureka Math right now in the district. That's really solidified what we do with the math programming. They've been looking for that with ELA, and this gives us that option.
With Eureka Math, did we do it as a pilot with maybe a couple teachers per grade, or it was just rolled out?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Are you doing
What was the motion?
both? Okay,
Motion for PHC.
so we have a motion by Mark and a second by Mike to approve both line items 8B and 8C. Further discussion?
Somebody who was on the committee and attended and asked a couple of questions, and Judy Burdan asked a couple of questions as well. Some of this is the solution that was chosen to accomplish everything that's been talked about, but also to assure that we are in alignment with state standards. So I was, for one, very surprised. It's been 25 years since we've last updated this part of our curriculum. It shouldn't be a thing.
What would you recommend moving forward? So let's say this gets approved, sometimes we talked about schedules in the future, like how often should this be evaluated to be updated or meet current needs?
Usually, what I'd like to bring forward for us, hopefully by next fall, is many districts have kind of a curriculum cycle. And you can pick the number of years, 5, 6, 7. Really what should mandate that now is the DPI has now put out a schedule of when the new standards revisions will come out. And it would be most wise for us to follow, it's about 6 years, that's a great question, right now, where you have writing teams who go in and start looking at the standards about 2 years prior to that 7-year window, cycle of time, so that they're going to be revising the standards and looking at them on about a 7-year cycle. So you would hope that you'd be looking at your curriculum and your curriculum maps and your alignment tools in your districts on the same cycle that those content area standards are being revised and potentially developed. That would be our hope.
My 2 cents that you didn't ask for is that as we move into a new administration here and a new superintendent, and we focus on being strategic as a district and a strategic plan, that those type of issues, so that we don't fall into a 25-year gap of adjusting some of those things, be really forefront in that strategic plan. And I think it's important for us just to make that commitment to do that.
Yeah, it may not be 4 or 5, but it should be 25.
It's not to say that your curriculum would need to change, it just doesn't still meet the standards in a way that you can work with,
So we do have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Thank you. Also, we just have one other piece from just the board report you will see is we did, Kate Caldwell, our elementary school principal, gave a fantastic presentation in tandem with myself just about best practices in science instruction. We wanted to be responsive to our board's request to provide more information about background information about a science specialist and how that would be a beneficial tool to help us meet the changing science standards that were just revised and pushed out in November of 17. The presentation is linked in, and I don't know if Kevin had anything to add, but we just talked about the importance of that exploratory, they call it 3-dimensional learning now, and how our teachers are able to do facets of science instruction, including content integration and some reading and writing and other content areas at the elementary school, but it's very difficult to bring in that, extended exploratory learning experiences to our students. So Katie did a great job with some experimental things on what it looks like to have exploratory learning versus just integration opportunities. And we just wanted to start to build the foundation of the importance of that three-dimensional learning, exploration, investigation type experiences for kids at a young age. And talking with Derek Kutsky, who's one of our middle school teachers, I don't think Derek's here.
No.
I saw him earlier, and then Lindsay, who is our high school, he's actually the state science president, president of the State Science Teachers Association. He had some really fantastic value-added facets of the importance of that three-dimensional learning, occurring as consistently and as efficiently as possible, starting at very young ages, in order for them at the high school level and the middle school level to achieve levels of depths of learning that they can in those problem-solving exploratory means. So that is included, and we certainly can provide more information as requested as we explore that science specialist position at the elementary school. So that concludes the board report for the curriculum and standards meeting from May 13, unless there are any other questions.
You have the
Field trips. Yep, that one. So last but not least, we had 3 extended field trips from Kurt Campbell, Katie Moratz, and Sue Swinick. The definitions and extensive information included with all 3 are included in your information. And the curriculum and standards recommended that each of those field trips come to the full board for approval.
I also move.
Okay, we have a motion by Jess and a second by Matt. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, do they need any volunteers to go to Switzerland?
Great opportunities for our kids.
I do, really, it's really neat when you do give a report back, you know, that's kind of neat to follow,
Yes,
even with the
it is.
curriculum.
Yes, you can do
With
that.
pictures and show what they did, is awesome.
Kelly, are you interim chaperone too?
Yes. There you go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Hey Matt, on the science thing, after you're done with the rabbits, the elementary might help you show you how to take care of tadpoles.
I'm pretty sure the message was delivered to Ms. Paddock, never again.
Building committee meeting report. Ellie.
Okay, the building committee met at 5:30 this evening, and we went through some of the new updates, and I will let Steve take over with a short summary of what we got for us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be brief. The packet you have in front of you, just some updates. The first thing I showed you folks here is the fact that last year we installed a lot of new equipment. This is some very high efficiency products. So what we're doing with that is actually putting nets around them. It doesn't hamper the airflow, but it definitely takes care of all the cottonwood and things that plug our units. These have micro channel technology, which is a new thing in my field. It means it's very tight, very efficient, but you have to be very careful of how it operates. You don't want to plug these up. So this is basically a safety net, and it makes our maintenance really easy with that. And that's on our chillers and all our air handlers that we installed last year. We'll be adding this for our stuff in the middle school and the elementary school that's happening this summer. And as you folks are aware, we're working in the middle school currently, basically installing ductwork, HVAC systems, electrical systems over there. And hopefully if weather permits on Thursday after school, we'll actually have a crane come inside some units and part of that building. So we're trying to get to about 80% complete before the school year ends. And once the school year ends, we have some cleanup work in there to finish those systems because when school is out, we're going to be moving over to elementary school, doing a large demo and cleaning that area. So it's going to take a lot of manpower there.
Yeah, what are you doing at the elementary?
Sure, in the elementary school, the 1975 section is part of the 93 section. There's areas, a lot of the ductwork and things that were functioning in that building, the air handlers are original. A lot of the ductwork has actually been exposed. There actually was some ductboard there that's not servicing things properly. The VAV boxes that regulate our air to the roof, those are all pneumatics. That's all going away. They're all trained, you can't retrofit those, they gotta go. So you got 40 years out of those, it's time to say goodnight. So what's gonna happen in that area is we're gonna, basically when you walked in there, we're gonna take everything out but the hot and cold water lines and the roof drains, it'll all be demoed out. The walls will be there, but everything's coming out. Yeah, it's gonna be a total redo, a very fast redo. And what's gonna happen there, you're gonna receive a new air handler upstairs and the chiller. That system is gonna go and chill water through the whole facility, which is very efficient. And then basically, we have a lot of outsider concerns with the old system, and that's gonna go away. So what'll happen is, there's gonna be a new ERV unit that's gonna handle that whole section of the building, which means you're gonna receive 100% outside air to those classrooms, and it'll be conditioned like you have at the high school. Just fed to them in a little bit different manner. But basically, we're gonna move it to the 21st century, digital control, and we can actually have control of the building. So that's what's gonna happen over there, and then we'll clean that building up this summer and swing the doors open for school. That's the big goal. It's gonna be very tight, but it'll get done. So that's why we were pushing to the middle school, because with the manpower issue for all the contractors. So another thing we want to bring forward to you is a couple other projects. One is our greenhouse facility. That is basically due for a recoat of the structuring outside. That's all Lexan. That needs to be replaced. Basically, about a 15-year life cycle. That was installed in pre-96 before the addition was done. So that has definitely passed this time. You can see there's some yellowing to it, being brittle. And we'd like to upgrade that. That also falls in the building envelope function, which is under our energy exemption projects that we have that falls and meets that criteria. So I'd like to bring that to you. And get a cost on that as well. And then secondly is we're looking at our school forest building. That was a portable classroom that was, I believe, at elementary school, and that was put out at the school forest. That's got all T111 siding on it, 20 plus years old. We'd like to take that building and basically re-insulate that, put 1-inch foam on the outside, wrap that structure, and also blow insulation inside the roof area. It's a very tight truss. The windows are all single pane, and they just leak like I said. And that building is electric heat, so we would like to get some control on that building as well. And like I said, this also falls in the building envelope through the Nexus program. And those are what we have in our projects for you guys moving forward. I mentioned we'll be bringing some solid projects with you with Nexus. We're working on some electrical work in our pool area. It's just a engineer that's so backed up right now, they just can't get the work in front of me to bid it. But I'll bring that information to you when I get it. Everybody's booked, so that's kind of where we sit. Any other questions I can answer for you on those?
Steve, how high is that deck from the ground?
The grade slopes away from that quite a bit. I'd say an outside of deck might be probably about this high off the ground. It tears into it, so it's sloped away. That is the north side, which is a killer because there's no sunlight on that. We wash it every summer. We actually bleach the walls down, but all that T111 back is being dozy, and it's going to have to be addressed in some fashion or another. So we'd like to cut that out, seal it up. I'm more concerned about getting water in the walls, and then what am I going to do with the structure? That's the problem we're going to run into. But it's 20 plus years old, so that's kind of where it sits.
When we bought those portable classrooms 28 years ago or whatever it was, it seemed like the single pane windows were sufficient. Because we didn't think we'd still have them almost 30 years
True,
later.
yeah, right, yeah. Well, you know, and it's what they did years ago for those types of projects. So. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Item 10, personnel committee report. Jess.
Okay, personnel committee meeting tonight, we have a 10A discussion and possible decision of approval of a new elementary science teacher position. In the personnel committee, we got an update from acting superintendent Burnett that this item will be tabled until the new superintendent is in place, Superintendent Munoz. Anything further to add on that, John?
No, the only other thing I would add is that the personnel committee, the last time this was brought up, the question was, has this been discussed at all by curriculum standards? And I think that's what Julie was sharing with you, that if and when the new superintendent chooses to weigh in this matter again, that you could certainly take a look at what curriculum standards had to say about the value of this position.
Item 10B, discussion, current job vacancies in the district. Darlene.
We have an 8-hour per day custodian that we did make a job offer to, so we're just waiting for pre-employment process to go through with him. Secretary, vacated by Sukat Watsky, who is retiring in August, I believe it is. But we are holding interviews on May 24th, correct, Katie? Correct. 2 Pride Center special education teacher assistants. These were approved last month at the board meeting. We were waiting to get approved for this Pride teacher, which we brought to the personnel committee today so that he could be involved in the hiring of those two positions. General education teacher assistant at the middle school. This is due to a vacancy because Sandy Shinesky did get moved to or did apply and did get the health room assistant, and that was due to the retirement of Deb Schnabel. And so we have that position open. We have a special education teacher assistant at the elementary school. We do have an offer that is pending. The principal at the middle school, we do have our principal here that we are looking to get approved. Just today I got a resignation from a 4-hour per day housekeeper. And he will resign on May 31st. And then also today, I did receive a resignation from our special ed teacher assistant at the elementary school. He went through the Wright program and he got a teaching position at Annie School District. So we're pretty happy for him. That is it.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll ask for your assistance when needed on this,
Okay.
since it's rather lengthy. Item 10C, discussion and possible decision approval of middle school math teacher hire. The personnel committee has recommended the hiring of Tom Fox. Tom comes with 19 years of experience and he was 4 out of 15 applicants. So I will seek a motion for the approval of Tom Fox for the middle school math teacher.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Amy and a second by Mark. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Item 10D, discussion and possible approval of elementary school counselor hire. The personnel committee is recommending Kelsey Helfrich, and she is coming to us with 4 years of experience. She has 6 out of 21 applicants that were interviewed. I will seek a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Peter and a second by Mark. Further discussion?
Can I just ask for some clarification, Jess? When you
Yes,
say 6 out of 21, we
Yes.
interviewed 6 candidates out of
Correct.
21 applicants?
Correct.
And she was selected,
She.
thank you, was selected as number 1 out of that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Item 10E, discussion and possible decision approval of business manager hire. We had 4 applicants for that position, and we had a large panel for that interview. And I know that Kevin sat on that hiring panel as well as Diane did, and 2 individuals were interviewed, and the personnel committee has recommended the hiring of Michelle Brown as our business manager. Seeking a motion.
Okay, we have
I'll second.
a motion by Matt and a second by Mark. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Item 10F, discussion and possible decision approval of human resources supervisor hire. We had 8 applicants and 4 interviews. Myself and Diane sat on that interview panel, again, along with the administrative staff as well. And the personnel committee is recommending the hire of Elise Crone as the human resources supervisor contingent, or I should say subject to pre-employment requirements that are all fulfilled. So she's going through all those prerequisites at the moment.
Make a motion.
Motion by Kevin and a second by Peter. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion will carry.
Item 10G, discussion and possible decision approval of middle school principal hire. And we had 41 applicants, 6 were interviewed, and on that committee, I believe we had Matt and Amy sitting on that panel for the board, along with several other administrators and individuals from the community, and students were also involved in that. And the personnel committee is recommending the hire of Brad Gruby, and that is also subjected to the pre-employment requirements. I will seek a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Matt and a second by Amy. Further discussion? Sorry, Mark.
I didn't hear it.
That's okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
And is he in the room just now? Can you stand up? I can't see you. Just so we know who you are. There you go.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wrong color.
Yeah.
I know. You're gonna have to find me a purple coat. So.
Maybe I'll help you out with that.
Item 10H, discussion of possible decision approval of Pride Center special education teacher hire. Mary, would you like, is she still here?
Sure, I am back here. We are very excited. Wassa's not too happy, but one of their employees is coming to Mosinee who has 7 years experience and has run a program just like we're starting. So I was definitely doing my happy dance when he said yes. Matt, you may know him. No? Anyway, we're just happy that we can keep our kids in the district and not have to transport them, and we're real excited about starting this program and having Daniel Drevick with us.
I'll make the motion. We have a motion by Kelly, is there a second? And a second by Amy. Further discussion?
I just want to make one quick point about some of these processes. Some of us it's our job to sit on these interviews, but there were numerous community members that participated and gave entire days and provided some great insight, and I just want to take the opportunity, although none of them were in the room, to acknowledge the time that they gave to the school district for one thing.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Would it be appropriate to make a mention of that in the link?
I think so.
I don't know who does
I don't know
that.
if we have any links going out yet this year.
No.
Okay, but even in the fall.
In the fall, you could do that.
Make it flash on the board and as you drive back down.
And the other possibility is that if you would like, we could send a thank you letter from the district
That's what I was
administration.
gonna say, do.
Yeah.
If we could get a list of those community members that participated, I'd be more than happy to send a thank you letter.
Very good idea. Very good idea.
Okay, item 10I, discussion and possible approval of head of high school, the head cross-country coach. And the personnel committee is recommending the hire of Nicole Fisher, formerly known as Nicole Orlando. She was the assistant cross-country coach and is replacing Jason Bond. And she has 5 years of formal experience.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Peter, a second. A second by Kelly. Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion will carry.
10J, discussion and possible decision approval of head varsity girls basketball coach hire. So the personnel committee is recommending Scott McKellips. He is replacing Tom McCarty, who is moving on, and he has 11 years of formal experience. And there were 6 applicants, and we are seeking a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Marcus, a second? And a second by Amy. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Item 10K, discussion and possible decision approval of temporary special education assistants to permanent positions. I am going to have Darlene explain this one more in depth and more of the history with this thought process.
Each year, we come to the school board and we ask for temporary positions for special education teacher assistants. And in 15-16, we asked for 6 employees, 16-17, 8 employees, 17-18, 7 employees, and this last year, 18-19, we asked you for 9 employees. Some of these employees have been in, or one of them has been in this position for 4 years as a temporary teacher assistant. So we have others that have been in for a couple years, and we had mentioned something to the personnel committee that we would like to make these positions non-temporary positions, so that when you have an employee, they know they have a job. So what we do at the end of the year when we hire these temporaries, I write them a letter and I say, your position has ended. I cancel any benefits that they have, and we come to the school board and we get these positions approved, and And then I send them another letter and I hire them again and I give them paperwork and I put them back on board. And usually what I do, if they have this salary or this hourly rate that they were making, when they come back the next year, I roll over their sick leave. I move them up the salary schedule just because I think that's a fair thing to do. Temporary positions are very hard to fill. So we are asking at this time if we could take 7 of these positions and make them non-temporary positions, and they're all in the special education teacher assistant area. And Mrs. Zimmerman did go through and she, carefully looked to see what we needed to cover our IEPs and what was needed to cover our special education teacher assistant program. So when I cost this out, it does cost out to be $289,126, but I did include health insurance in that costing, so that totals $75,791. What I want to tell you is none of these teacher assistants take our health insurance. So the true costing right now, and I did use next year's cost where I moved them up on the salary schedule, and I used our insurance cost of what it would cost us for next year. Truly, it will cost us $213,334 because I do not believe any of these, but I do cost the insurance in just in case.
And would you explain why they don't take it, simply because it's the higher rate that they pay because they're?
Because they work school year only, we take 7.25 hours times their number of days that they work. We divide it by 2,080 hours, and that's how we calculate what they owe for health insurance. So for a family policy for a teacher assistant who works 7.25 hours a day, they're paying like $780 a month to have that health insurance. So normally they do not take our health insurance. That's for family. Single would cost that. Normally, if I have a teacher assistant whose husband works for a manufacturing company, the manufacturing company will come back and say, okay, teacher assistant, you're being offered health insurance. They then have to take our single plan. They will normally turn down the job. So then I have to go back out and get another one. So just because of the cost. Yeah.
So the dollar figure you mentioned, that's not new cost. That,
no.
What's
Same as last year?
Same as last year.
$4,000.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure that was
Last
crystal
year
clear.
I
We're not looking at a
no,
$250,000 extra.
No, it's
No,
28
no.
cents per hour more per employee.
Last year I had 9 employees. This year we're asking for 7 of them, and I even rolled them up on the salary schedule, what it would cost us. And I put in, the cost for the health insurance and benefits based for next year, 1920 school year.
And what I
So we had a couple
understand
cents.
is that we're really just taking out the word temporary.
Yes, I would like to
Still
keep the same
jobs.
employees who have had these jobs. I don't want to post them again. It does take us a long time. We post these jobs, our principals go out and rehire these jobs, and it's usually the same ones year after year. Yeah, so I would like to keep the same employees in the position who choose to stay in. I know I have some of them, 2 of them are becoming our teachers next year, so they took this temporary assignment. They're going to be becoming our teachers. So those positions I will post.
Yeah, and the one that's moving from the elementary, the student, to the middle school, we have to post that one.
We have to post that one.
And I think we've discussed as a board that should one of these individuals leave or retire or go someplace else, there's value in not having that term temporary. When people tend to see temporary, I'm not sure that we attract that same level of individual and use it as a permanent position. We think this is a good move for the future.
And if something would happen that, we ultimately don't need 1 or 2 of these, when we had another special education teacher assistant, we would move this person into that position and not hire that one.
So it's reducing administration's workload with the paper and the hiring process, but then also it's a retention tool.
It is.
I will take the motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Jess and a second by Mark. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? motion will carry.
Thank you. Item 10, L, discussion and possible decision approval of additional resignations or hirees or hires. The only thing to report on at this time is the high school assistant hockey coach has resigned. And that is all we have for item 10L. Scott Jensen, is that?
Frank
Jensen, sorry.
Need a motion to approve?
No. No, just an update. And item 10, update on new extracurricular hires, there were none. And item 10N, no future agenda items at this time for the personnel committee. And that concludes.
All right, thanks, Jess. All right, moving on to finance committee meeting report. Matt?
Well, we first kicked the cat at running this process, so feel free when I do something out of order to call me out on it. Big shoes to fill, Mike, big shoes to fill. So, well, we called our meeting to order at 5:30. The first item of business was to cover discussion of possible decision regarding a membership audit. Brent said we drew the short straw this year and got audited. There were 4 bad parents identified that didn't use proper open enrollment, so we got a little zinged on that, but overall we did very well. So does the decision of our board and recommendation to approve and accept the membership audit.
Can we get a motion?
Sure, I'll make that a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Matt and a second by Mark. Further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Item 11B was discussion of possible decision regarding the 2019-2020 hot lunch and breakfast prices. This is an annual decision that comes to us. Recommendation of our committee was to approve as presented.
I'll second it.
And I'll make that a motion.
I'm sorry.
Way to go, Mike.
Okay, so we have a motion by Matt and a second by Mike. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Item 11C, discussion of possible decision approval of a greenhouse retrofit purchase and school forest building updates. Our committee voted to table that till next month to make a decision, and also to put that issue or recommend that issue be on an agenda item for this board. The rationale behind that was it was $50,000 worth of expenses in 2 projects with 2 paragraphs of information. We asked questions regarding the frequency at which these are used, what other opportunities or options were available. There's additional information we want to justify that expenditure. The recommendation of that expenditure was that comes out of our energy efficiency money that we voted to tax the citizens of Mosinee without their permission on, because the law allowed us to. Part of our discussion was that at the time we did that, we said these are the projects, these are the parameters of the project, and any funds left over we will use to pay down that debt and have less of a burden on the taxpayers. And as the months go by, we continue to get different projects. This isn't saying those projects aren't valuable, but before we start making decisions on projects like this, we felt it would be really relevant for this board to have a robust discussion about the priorities on what to do with the estimated $1.6 million of remaining funding at the conclusion of the currently scheduled energy efficiency projects. So for those reasons, we voted to table that issue. Okay, moving on to 11D. We feel like this is really important. Discussion and possible decision approval of a floor scrubber purchase. The current floor scrubber, and floors are important, hit the dust, right? And it's got parts that are being used elsewhere. So we unanimously voted to recommend the purchase of a Trident floor scrubber from Hilliard at a cost of $14,725.67. And I would make the motion that we approve that purchase.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Matt and a second by Peter. Further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Steve, how long did those usually run? How long last? I'm just curious.
Well, those were purchased before I came there, it was like 2008, we bought 2 of them at that time. So basically the one that failed at high school, we were replacing, we were robbing parts off that one for the other one at the elementary school. So I'm sure I'll be back to you sometime to replace that one, but, you know, you get 10 years, it's been pretty good.
Speaking of stuff wearing out, item 11E is the discussion and possible decision regarding the approval of a snowplow truck or truck and snowplow package. We're looking to replace a 2003 plow truck. My understanding is the district currently uses 2 plow trucks. We have 2, one's in really rough shape, it's going to be traded in for next to nothing. And although we contract for the major snow removals of the parking lots, these trucks, and I think a Bobcat that we bought are used to do the sidewalks and the other areas like that. The low bid is a stripped down Ford 3/4 ton 2019 truck with the plow attachments. We're recommending the approval of the expenditure of $33,286.50 for the purchase of that truck, and I will so move.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Matt and a second by Mark. Further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry.
Full disclosure, we ran incredibly short on time and did an abbreviated voucher discussion. But our committee recommends the approval of the monthly voucher list in the amount of $2,381,022.55. And I will move that we approve the voucher
I'll
list.
second it. That's a roll call vote.
I was gonna get that one right, but thanks, Mike. Roll call, please.
Barnes,
Yes.
Bauman,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Hanson, Hermany,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Zebro.
Yes.
All yes.
Our final agenda item 11G, discussion of possible decision approval of monthly treasurer's report. Brent, in an expedited minute and a half, made sure we understood that we still have money, and the treasurer's report was solid and we're okay right now. That's about the extent that we got to with that, but it is a recommendation of the finance committee that we approve the treasurer's report, and I will so move.
I'll second it. There's a motion by Matt and a second by Kelly, and it's also a roll call.
Gorman,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hermany,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Bauman,
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
All yes.
Okay. Moving on to item 12, other reports. WASB.
That is me, and what we have coming up is in July 13th, 12th, and 13th in Appleton. It is regional children, it's a 2-day session. So, maybe if I grabbed the wrong one. If we have it, it's on your WSB link, it's in your Gmail, and if you want to, hold it, let me know. It does have some really good sessions.
That's the equity one.
Yes,
Yes. And we did attend, there was Mark, myself, and Jeff did go to the workshop that was up in
this
Tomahawk.
is this one.
Yeah, so, yeah, you brought the right, that one. We had the lawyer, Ben Richter, was there, and it was kind of entertaining because they really aren't very clear. Somebody would ask a question, and I can help you, but then the minute you'd ask that question about conflict, or some of they go refer to a statute, and they go, but I'm really not your lawyer, so I can't really answer that question. So that happened multiple times during the evening, but it was a good refresh. Oh, and I'm sorry, Peter, you were there too. So, I didn't.
That's all right.
You came late.
I ate the turkey and
Yes.
stuffing and the
Yes. But it's a good refresher, so I'd suggest that anybody that has never attended, continue to go.
And that concludes.
Okay, CISA, Mike.
Okay, there's a CISA report. Now, some of you have wondered last meeting how you are replaced on the board. Now, take Helen Ackerman from DC Everest has resigned. So they will name one of her fellow board members as a CISA 9 representative. And then in your election, which comes up in August, they will elect a board member. And usually it is the one that is sitting.
Okay, thank you.
Update you a little bit. And then Border Boundary disputes was, this lady volunteered to, Teresa Mills is boundary disputes for the 69 area. So I imagine she'll cover the Mosinee School District and boundary disputes.
Thank you. Item 13, future agenda items. We do have one for Matt with the extras. Anybody else have something?
I guess to see if we come back with something on that parking lot.
Sure. I can speak to
If you
that.
got something, I had a couple calls on that, just to see where it's at so I can get back to them. Sure.
And you're talking about the one by the ball field?
Yeah, the MTA field and range line.
Yep.
So, you know, we know we have a water issue over there. Everybody saw that, we've been dealing with that. So, to move that forward, I'm working with REI, who did the original layout of this. So, basically Jim has formulated a plan. He basically got that concept back to us just the other day. So I met with the city out there and the site to look what our options are, what has to happen with that. So, I met again with everybody again this morning to walk through a few things. And on the plan REI gave us, the city has some work that has to come down the ditch line, includes culverts, stone, things of that nature. And the city basically said they're willing to definitely work with us on that project. They would pay for the ditch work, the stone work in the ditch, the culvert, the drain tile piece of the puzzle. They just can't do any earth moving on our ground, and I understand that. We got a plan kind of marked up on Thursday. We're meeting with contractors that go out and look at additional work on the fields that they want to progress with. Along with that, Kevin will give his plan to Ruth Chalmers as well, and they're going to put that out to the two contractors. So they can tell me what our portion of the work would be to reshape the back of that baseball field, and we have to get a trench that goes around the backside to keep that water going to the west. So I'm hoping to have some numbers back to you guys in a week or two based on what the contractors are going to throw at us. I just want to make sure we can separate that so we're not having costs, you know, doubled up, I guess I would say. But the city's been really good and they're willing to pay for those pieces of the puzzle.
And you said the town was part of that too, right? The town Mosinee?
Well, it'll be the city. Because the water actually is coming basically from the city down that ditch line. You know, the MCA complex always received all that water and could take it down to, you know, into that, we were like 6-7 foot low in there. So now that baseball field's up to grade, of course, there are balloons and ponds there. The city has a problem in some regards because their stormwater inlet is much higher than the water problem, so then what are you gonna do with that? So we gotta make that go. But I think working with all the parties here, if it's those snaps, I think we'll resolve it. We wanna get this done as soon as possible. I just don't know what my cost or the portion would be to do that earthwork in that area. But that's where we sit right now. I'll know more probably a week or two when I get numbers back. But they've been very gracious so far, I think, to work with us on that. So that's as much as I can tell you tonight.
Okay, thanks. Mark, I would share with you, when we've received phone calls here, Brent is really on top of this, and typically he's been returning those phone calls and trying to explain to those individuals what the plan is. I mean, the phrase is that it's an embarrassment, that it's our responsibility, we need to get something done. We agree with that, but until we get the information that Steve's talking about, we just can't say, other than we're moving on this, the board is taking this seriously, and something will be happening shortly.
Sometimes people call, you give them a call back and we say, don't feel like it's going on.
So if anybody wants to talk with us, have them give us a call.
Yeah, I received some calls for Steve today, so I gave them the same information. People are very gracious about that. I just told them, you know, we're looking at, you know, what really can be done and we need to do professionally because I don't want to come in and revisit this. And I really got to get the right people in line and you got to shoot grades out there and know where everything's at. I mean, it's what you have to do. So the costs are going to be incurred, but we'll get it rectified.
Like I told you, I said, last year it was too dry and all the dust went across.
Yeah, I know.
Are you gonna grade more than an acre, would you say? No?
Well, that's right. What we'd be touching now is already been graded. We just have to get it to the proper level, I would say. I don't know what the exact square footage of that is.
Grade more than an acre, you'll need a DNR permit.
Yeah, I got the permit already.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, I did have something that was in our Gmail. Is anybody interested in that Dream Flight STEM shuttle for the 4th of July parade? And I don't know who should take one of that. Oh, it was to all of us.
The what?
Yeah.
I never got it.
Yep, I looked in there and so, Good afternoon.
Did that just come today?
All right, this has been a while ago, so I don't know if somebody wants to reach out and have the show in a big poster blog right here. Okay, I'll send it to you if you don't have it.
Yeah, I'll double check. Anything else?
And then also, I was on the school board website, and we did have some updates, but we don't have the times changed on that. So I don't know
Oh, the times for.
Yeah, it still says 7 o'clock for meetings.
On our website?
Not on our website, I'm sorry, on the school board. Where you go to school board.
Fine.
Oh, oh, you're talking about the webpage.
Yeah. So, that's all I need.
I don't know what you're talking about right now. Are you saying on the school district website or on board book?
District web, with its website, yes, it still has the meetings at 7.
Oh.
Everybody just looked right at you, so
I know.
I followed suit. Yes,
Well,
Kevin.
speaking of times,
No, they're up.
this is more for the fall, once the school year begins again. I think for curriculum and standards, or curriculum and instruction, it's instruction now, right? It's not standards.
Standards, I think, is
Okay.
what.
So,
They're updated.
in order to have that meeting the same night as the board meeting, we have to start around 4:30. Which is gonna make it very difficult for the community members and the teachers to attend. The staff, I should say, to attend, more difficult. And we don't have to act on this today, but I would like the board to at least think about the idea of perhaps having the curriculum meeting start at 5, go till, let's say, 5:45. The other committee meetings at 5:45, and then the board meetings start at 6:30. Just for food for thought. We've been through this process, I know already.
We just did that.
I'm personally not opposed to having the curriculum meeting be on a different night, but I do know it will be more limiting if we try to have it also on the same night as the regular board meeting. Not for action for today.
Okay.
Just thinking about as we get into the fall. Because there is no curriculum meeting until September, correct? Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I wasn't privy to why you changed it, but
Yes, we just did, that's not a problem.
Which is because some of the meetings are getting long. People with Mike and Mark, some people have to go to work, so.
I get it, I understand.
Okay, before we hit item 14, in the corner of the room, we have this nice looking cake. And Mark, would you be so gracious to hold it up?
Oh, yes.
So before everybody leaves tonight, we'd like to thank Darlene for all her years of service. And make sure you do a big piece of. Yeah.